Welcome to Silent and Taylees. I hope you enjoy this story. Now, let's begin.
The world was falling into an ice apocalypse. But I was sitting comfortably in my warm house, savoring a steaming hot pot. Through the security camera on my phone, I watched my ex-wife and her lover huddled together in the freezing wind. Their bodies trembled non-stop as they chewed on a few pieces of moldy bread, trying to convince themselves. We have money. Money can buy everything. That scene brought back the nightmare of my past life. Back then, they were the ones who caused my death. That tearing pain, it hasn't faded from my mind. Now that I've been reborn, I swear I'll take everything back. And she will pay for what she's done. At that moment, I had gone back to the exact time before the apocalypse. The day Evelyn handed me the divorce papers. I forced myself to stay calm and signed them immediately. She clearly didn't expect me to agree so easily. She looked at me with doubt in her eyes. Kaiser, you really agree to the divorce? Don't come begging me later. I glanced at my phone. Only 1 month left before the ice apocalypse. I replied coldly, of course not. Let's go. We need to go to the courthouse and finish the divorce. On the way, I glared at her, my eyes full of hatred. But she didn't notice at all. She looked happy to finally be free. When we divided our assets, I didn't take the apartment. I only took a little over 200 million yuan in cash and the car. Because I knew one thing: when the apocalypse comes, living in a city apartment will only draw attention and invite danger. That place would become a grave for her and her lover. She agreed right away without thinking. Then she said coldly, "Pack your things. Leave my house now." I gave a cold laugh. Relax. I don't want to stay. In truth, I already knew her plan. She had just won the lottery. That's why she rushed to divorce me and run to her younger lover. The 10 billion yuan prize was now hers alone. In my past life, I had knelt, begged, cried, trying to save my marriage with her. But it was all useless. Only when the ice apocalypse came did I finally see her true face. She and her lover had just returned from a trip, and the three of us were trapped in the apartment together. When the food ran out, she snatched the last biscuit from me and forced me out into the deadly snowstorm to find more food. I refused, because I knew stepping out into -60 degrees was almost certain death. Angry, she grabbed the antique hatchet I kept on the wall and attacked me. Right before I lost consciousness, I vaguely heard her say, "1. This one looks done. Time to go. 2. This one looks. Let's." Just remembering that scene still makes my skin crawl. In a world with no supplies, no food, people lose their humanity. They can do anything. After leaving the courthouse, I quickly drove home to pack my things. I went through her wardrobe and took all her winter clothes. As I passed the kitchen, I saw the familiar hatchet, the one that had killed me in my past life. I stared at it for a long moment, then took it down and placed it on the table. I checked the house one more time, making sure no food was left. Then I set up a few surveillance cameras in hidden corners. Everything done, I took my luggage and drove back to my hometown that night. My heart was full of hatred and worry for what was to come. When I saw my parents, I couldn't hold back my tears. In my past life, when the apocalypse came, the network went down, and I couldn't reach my parents. I always wondered if they had survived. Seeing me cry My parents were very worried. They asked, "Son, what's wrong?" I hesitated for a long moment. But finally I told them everything, including my rebirth and the coming apocalypse. After hearing it, my mother cried with worry, and my father was angry. "Don't worry, son. We'll always be here for you." I hugged them tightly and said, "We don't have much time left. We need to upgrade the house and stock up on food." My parents' house was in a small village outside the city. It had been fully renovated a few years ago and looked cozy and comfortable. It used to be a farmhouse, so there was plenty of space to store supplies. I could stock up without worrying. First, I hired a professional construction team to reinforce the house. I added extra insulation, replaced all the windows with strong triple glass panes, and even built an iron fence outside for extra protection. I also put solar panels on the roof, so we would still have electricity if the power went out. Our house had a gas heater, but I knew the gas would run out soon. I remembered the old coal stove from my childhood, the one that kept me warm in winter. But when I found it, it was rusty and covered in dust from years of disuse. I stood there, staring at it. My father saw me and smiled. "No one uses old-fashioned coal stoves anymore, so this one won't work. But I have a solution." The next day, he brought home 5 new generation, highly efficient coal stoves, and hundreds of bags of coal pellets. These stoves could also boil water and cook food. I put one in my room, my parents' room, the living room, the kitchen, and the storage room. By the time the insulation system was installed, it was already night. We ate quickly and went to bed early, saving energy for the next day to finish all the other preparations. The next day, our family split up to get things done. My mother went to the nearby market and bought lots of fresh meat, pork, beef, chicken, and even seafood. By then, we could cook and enjoy hot pot. She also bought 10 large freezers to store everything. Later, the ground floor would become as cold as a freezer, without the heaters. But we still needed to keep the meat frozen carefully until the ice apocalypse arrived. My father stayed home, picking fruits and vegetables from the garden. It was harvest time, and our garden was full of fresh produce. I drove to the supermarket to buy daily necessities and other supplies. First, I bought blankets, electric blankets, power banks, and several generators. Then I got thick coats and thermal clothes for the whole family. Next, I bought toilet paper, disinfectant, antibiotics, and lots of canned food, since they could last a long time. I also stocked up on snacks, so we could enjoy them anytime during the snowstorm. After leaving the supermarket, I went to a safety gear store. I bought military jackets, raincoats, waterproof gloves, and cotton masks. I figured that if we survived the ice apocalypse, when the snow melted, these items would be useful. Since I bought so much, it would take 3 days for all the supplies to be delivered. When I opened my phone, I saw a photo of Evelyn. She was traveling with her young lover, Jason. Her life was full of luxury, staying in 5-star hotels and dining on a yacht. But she didn't know the ice apocalypse would arrive in just 10 days. The next day, my mother bought more food, hundreds of bottles of cooking oil, 500 bags of rice, and 500 bags of wheat. I helped my father harvest crops. He dried the soybeans to preserve them. The pumpkins and the tomatoes were processed and canned. Some fresh fruits I put in the cooling fridge. We also used vacuum sealers to keep the food fresh longer. When I was done, I went to take a shower. That's when I noticed another problem. The blizzard wouldn't just cut the power, it would also freeze the water pipes. Without water, we couldn't wash or drink. We could melt snow, but it's usually dirty, full of dust and sand. In my past life, my ex-wife and her lover had water, while I could only drink snow. It gave me diarrhea, and made me very weak. I finished my shower quickly, and rushed to my father, to find a solution. Seeing me, my mother hurried over, handing me a towel, worried. "What's the rush, son? It's freezing. If you don't dry your hair, you'll catch a cold." My father laughed when he heard the problem. "Ah, I see. I've already thought about this too." My father had already ordered 5 large steel water tanks. They were reinforced so the water wouldn't freeze. 3 days later, the tanks were delivered and placed behind the house. We filled them up quickly. Now we had enough water for at least 2 years. My father also bought filters, so we wouldn't get sick from dirty water. After securing our drinking water, I tried to remember what other problems I had faced in my past life. Then my parents remembered the cornfield hadn't been harvested yet. The corn wasn't fully grown, but if we left it until the snowstorm came, we would lose it all. My father immediately called a harvester to get the corn quickly. The villagers saw this and were shocked. They came over to warn us. "Why are you harvesting so early? The corn needs at least 2 more weeks to fully grow. If you do this, no one will want to buy it." My parents just smiled politely, but I quickly spoke up. "This year's weather is unusual. Everyone should harvest early." They laughed at me. "You little brat. What do you know?" The ice apocalypse was getting closer. Only 5 days left. But right now, the weather still looked normal. It made me wonder, would everything really happen again, just like in my past life? If it didn't, my parents' harvest would suffer a huge loss, and everything we had prepared would become useless. I shared my worries with my father. He stayed calm and said gently, "Don't worry too much. If the disaster doesn't come, that would be great. But we should still be prepared." The next day, the weather changed a lot. The air turned heavy and hot, and the temperature shot up to 35 degrees. With this sudden heat wave, my heart grew heavier and heavier. In my past life, the weather had also been extremely hot for 3 days. But on the 4th day, a wave of cold air swept in, followed by endless snowstorms. I put up a notice on social media, warning people about the strange weather, and telling them to stock up on food. But the result? I got insulted right away. "What are you on? Watching too many disaster movies? It's burning outside. Store food now? You want it to spoil faster? Are you high?" No matter how hard I tried, no one believed me. In the end, I could only let things take their course, believing everyone had their own fate. As long as my family was safe, that was enough. By now, the supplies we stored were enough to keep us alive for more than 10 years. Taking advantage of the time, my father added more partitions in the rooms to make heating more efficient. My mother stayed busy in the kitchen, making lots of steamed buns and dumplings, my favorite foods. No one cared for me more than my parents. Another day passed, and my phone buzzed. The surveillance cameras are showing that Evelyn has just returned. She came back a day earlier than in my past life, probably because something went wrong on their trip. Through the cameras, I saw them complain about the heat and then cuddle up to sleep peacefully. They had no idea the apocalypse was coming soon. You're listening to a story on Silent and Tales. On the morning of October 10th, the temperature suddenly dropped to 10 degrees Celsius. Wave after wave of cold air swept in, making everything feel sharp. Just stepping outside made people shiver. Everyone started to panic because the weather was changing so fast. Some people rushed to stock up on food. The next day, the temperature dropped to 0 degrees Celsius. The first snowflakes began to fall, slowly covering the ground in white. At that moment, Evelyn and Jason were curled up together in their freezing room. Jason complained angrily, "What kind of messed up weather is this?" Evelyn looked worried and asked, "Honey, should we start storing some food?" But Jason just shrugged and said, "Why worry? You're rich. We can just order everything online." 2 hours later, the delivery finally came. They complained it was too slow, and even gave a 1-star rating. They didn't know snow was falling heavily outside. I looked at what they bought: 2 warm jackets, some snacks, a bag of rice, a carton of instant noodles, and a few useless things. That amount of food wouldn't sustain them for long. I ignored them and went to see if Mom had finished dinner. I found her standing by the door, staring blankly. I asked, "What are you looking at, Mom?" She looked at me with worry. "It's your father, honey. He's still not back. After lunch, he said he wanted to go to the old family house to get something." I panicked. The snowstorm was coming, and Dad was missing. How could this happen? I quickly reassure my mother, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll drive to find him." The snowstorm made it hard to see, and the thick snow on the ground made driving tough. Luckily, I had fitted snow chains on the tires beforehand. Just as I got in the car, Dad came back. He smiled and quickly started unloading things from the car. Some farming tools came out: hammers, shovels, even a chainsaw. These could also serve as weapons for self-defense, because in an apocalypse, people can be the most dangerous. Finally, Dad took out a basket of persimmons. Mom loved crunchy persimmons, and luckily there was a tree at the old family house with almost ripe fruit. Dad had picked them for her. Seeing Dad care for Mom like that, I was deeply moved. Suddenly, a dog ran out of the car. It looked smart and cute. I had no idea where Dad found it, but I decided to keep it and named it Pudding. That night, strong winds howled outside, cold and loud, making it hard to sleep. Thankfully, our house was reinforced, and the cold couldn't get in. The ventilation system kept every room warm and cozy. I felt grateful for Dad's foresight. A deep sense of safety filled me in the middle of the freezing snowstorm. I was scrolling online, looking at handsome guys and pretty girls to pass the time. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Evelyn, my ex-wife. The moment I picked up, she yelled into the phone, "Kaiser, where did you put the electric blanket? I'm freezing to death." I replied coldly, "That blanket was mine. We're divorced, so I took it." It was so ridiculous. She acted like I owed her the whole world over a single blanket. I didn't say another word and hung up immediately. Then, I checked the security cameras. Seeing me hang up, she was furious, shouting loudly. Jason hugged her, trying to calm her down. "Relax, honey. The snow will stop tomorrow." I shook my head and sighed. They clearly had no idea this snowstorm would last so long. Even though I had stocked up plenty of food and reinforced the house carefully, it never felt like enough. In my past life, I didn't survive for long, so I didn't know how long the apocalypse would last. All I could do was rely on the fragments of memory I still had to prepare. According to my memory, the snow would stop tomorrow. But a bigger blizzard was coming a few days later. That's when the real ice apocalypse would begin. I decided to stock up as much food as possible tomorrow. I had to survive. No matter what. The next morning, I woke up and saw my parents talking, in the living room. Dad said, "Looks a bit warmer today." I stepped in and said, "Dad, this is only temporary. The real apocalypse will come next week." Worried he might not believe me, I added, "You have to trust me." Seeing me so serious, Dad couldn't help but laugh. "How could I not trust you? You're my son." Hearing that, I felt deeply moved. I explained to him that we needed to stock up on more food, because the apocalypse could last a long time. The biggest problem now was that we didn't have enough money. Dad reassured me, "Don't worry. We can take a loan. Surviving is the most important thing." Without hesitation, Dad and I drove straight to the bank. After getting the loan, we rushed to the supermarket. I shopped like crazy, buying food and everything we might need. I posted an anonymous warning online. The apocalypse is coming. But just like before, very few listened. Most just insulted me, saying I had mental problems. I checked the security cameras and saw Evelyn talking to Jason. Jason complained, "Why isn't anyone delivering food now? I'm starving." Evelyn said, "I'll give you money. Go out and get some food." Jason whined, "Baby, look at me. I'm weak. How can I go out in this cold?" She snapped angrily, "Come on. You're a man. Be strong. Am I supposed to go out instead?" Then they started arguing loudly. I shook my head, secretly feeling satisfied. They're still as selfish as ever, and never take care of themselves. After a while, we got home. Dad parked the car in the garage, and I carried the supplies inside. Suddenly, a child's voice called out from behind. "Wow, so many things. Mom, I want to eat these snacks." A woman's voice followed. "Kaiser, are you planning to sell all this? I told you not to stock up so much food. The snow will stop soon." I realized it was Mrs. Wong, our nosy and greedy neighbor. Before I could say anything, she continued, "My son loves your snacks. You have so many. Why not give him some?" Turns out, she wanted some of my food. I handed the boy 2 packs of snacks. But she sneered, her voice full of contempt. "Why are you being so stingy? With so much, giving me a whole box is nothing." Seeing I didn't react, she lunged forward, trying to grab the whole box. I blocked her and shouted, "Go buy your own. It's my choice to give or not." But she still struggled with me. "You jerk. Don't you know kids come first? Let go. There's no free stuff. If you don't let go, we're not neighbors anymore. I don't need greedy neighbors like you." Her son also ran over and grabbed at my legs. "Damn woman. How dare you bully my son?" Just then, my dad ran over and kicked Mrs. Wong hard. She fell face first into the snow. He helped her up, pretending to be shocked. "Oh, Mrs. Wong? I thought it was a thief. Sorry, it was an accident." Mrs. Wong yelled angrily, "You did it on purpose." Dad kept smiling and said, "I'm old and my eyes are bad. Please understand." Finally, Dad told me, "Son, give Mrs. Wong that box of snacks as compensation." I sighed. "All right, Dad." The boy immediately grabbed the box of snacks and ran home with a big smile. Mrs. Wong angrily chased after him, shouting, "You ungrateful child. Your mother is hurting, and you still think about eating?" Watching them leave, I couldn't help but give my dad a thumbs up. "Dad, you're amazing. Experience really pays off." He laughed and said, "With people like her, no need for long arguments. Just handle it directly." After that, my dad and I continued moving things into the house. By the end of the day, our whole family sat together and enjoyed warm dumplings for dinner. After eating, I took a shower and went to bed early, saving my energy for the next day. The next morning, I was woken up by the non-stop ringing of the doorbell. When I walked out, I saw several relatives sitting in the living room, complaining to my parents. "Did you win the lottery or something? The neighbor said you renovated the house and bought a lot of food. My life is so miserable. I barely earn anything, and whatever I make goes straight to my wife. Come on, give me a little money to enjoy myself, big bro. Can you spot me some cash for a concert ticket?" I stood there, stunned. I couldn't believe how shameless and greedy they were. My dad sighed and said, "Our house needed repairs because it was getting old. We borrowed the money from the bank. You can check the loan if you want." When they saw our loan papers, their expressions quickly changed. Pretending to be rich? Let's leave. What a waste of time. Since they were family, Dad still warned them. "A big snowstorm disaster is coming. You should stock up on food." They looked at the sunny sky and laughed mockingly. "It's sunny now. Where's the snow? Kaiser's divorce has made your whole family crazy?" Watching them leave, we could only shake our heads. We'd warned them, but if they didn't listen, there was nothing more we could do. Time passed quickly, and the weather started turning cold again. That afternoon, the wind howled through the air, and heavy snow began to fall. Only then did people realize the real disaster had arrived. Everyone rushed out, fighting over whatever food they could find. Prices shot up instantly. Meanwhile, I sat in the warm room, quietly watching the snow fall outside, as I checked the security cameras. Evelyn and Jason were sitting on the sofa, wrapped tightly in blankets. There was only a little food left on their table. Evelyn looked worried and said, "Baby, everyone is rushing out to buy supplies. We should go too." Just as they were about to leave, a message popped up on my phone. It was from the residents' group chat in my old neighborhood. In the group chat, someone posted, "Does anyone need supplies? We can buy and deliver them to your apartment. The delivery fee is 100,000 yuan per household." Some people were thrilled and sent money right away. No one wanted to step outside in this freezing weather. Evelyn immediately transferred 5 million yuan, acting all arrogant. "Buy as much as you can, and make sure you deliver mine first. Don't blame me if you don't." At that moment, my whole family was gathered in the living room. My mom took the dried sunflower heads and shook out a pile of seeds onto the table. My dad sipped his hot tea, and I played soft music from my tablet. Our dog, Pudding, ran happily around my feet. Warm air from the heater filled the whole house. For a moment, all our worries disappeared. We simply enjoyed being together, laughing and relaxing, while the snowstorm continued to howl outside. The next morning, I was woken up by notifications on my phone. I checked it and saw Evelyn frantically calling that guy again. She still hadn't received her food. Curious, I clicked on his profile picture to check. It was him, Draven, a thug. In my past life, when the apocalypse hit, he hoarded supplies. Along with his gang, he became the boss of the whole building. He raised food prices insanely high. Any woman with even a little beauty could easily get trapped by him. Back then, Evelyn had forced me to go beg him for food. But before I could say a word, he hit me hard, because he was proud and cruel. Knowing Draven would never bring Evelyn her food made me feel so satisfied. I pulled the blanket over my head and went back to sleep, enjoying the moment. When I woke up that afternoon, the smell of delicious food caught my attention. My mom had made a spicy Thai hot pot, tender beef in steaming broth, with vegetable rolls and tofu. I dipped the beef in tamarind sauce. It was irresistible. Mom smiled as she watched me eat, hesitating for a moment. I asked gently, "Mom, do you have something to say?" She paused and said, "I feel so heartbroken thinking about what you went through in your past life. You must have suffered so much." My dad took a sip of water and added, "We're sorry we couldn't protect you before. This life, we will make it up to you." I felt deeply moved, my heart filled with warmth. I silently promised to take good care of my parents this time. At the same time, my hatred for my ex-wife burned even stronger in my heart. After I was full, I scrolled through the photos of the food I had just taken. Seeing the heavy snow falling outside, knowing Evelyn must be starving, I decided to send her a picture to tease her. Less than 10 minutes later, she called me. I ignored it, but she kept calling, forcing me to answer. As soon as I picked up, her piercing voice shouted, "Kaiser, where are you? Why do you still have hot pot?" I answered coldly, "We're divorced. Why do you care?" She pressed on, "Are you at your parents' house? In the countryside?" I didn't answer, and instead sent her a photo of my renovated house. "Do you think this is my parents' home?" She went silent immediately. I had taken her here last year, but it looks totally different now. After a while, her voice softened and pleaded, "Honey, I was wrong. I was crazy to divorce a handsome man like you. I regret it now. Please tell me where you are, and I'll come to fix things. Honey, I still love you so much. Please save me. I'm starving." Just hearing her, I could tell she was faking. It was disgusting. "Evelyn, aren't you ashamed? Your lover is right there. Tell him to get your food." "Honey, he's just a friend." I laughed coldly. "Only a fool would believe you. Even my pudding doesn't trust you. Anyway, I'm going back to my meal. Bye." I quickly hung up. Then I turned on the camera and saw her yelling at Jason, "You useless man. Go check the whole house for anything to eat." They rummaged through everything but found nothing. In the end, all they could do was drink water to ease their hunger. I thought to myself, "Drink, drink more. Let's see if you can survive when the water runs out." Then, Evelyn suddenly moved close to her lover and whispered something. Jason looked hesitant. "Is this okay?" Evelyn shouted angrily, "What? I'm starving. I can't take it anymore. If you love me, go now." Right after that, they left together. You're listening to a story on Silent and Tales. Enjoy and relax. A freezing apocalypse was coming, snow falling thickly. Everyone was fighting for food, but I was safe in my warm house, enjoying a steaming hot pot. Meanwhile, Evelyn and Jason, driven by hunger, were plotting something wicked. Jason sneaked toward an apartment. After checking that no one was around, he waved Evelyn over. "Why are we here?" she asked. Jason whispered, "There are a lot of food bags in front of this apartment. There must be some supplies inside." Then he started breaking the lock on the door. The person in the apartment was busy watching the Silent and Tales channel. Since he hadn't subscribed or liked the channel, Jason suddenly knocked him out from behind. The two quickly tied up the homeowner and searched for food, taking other things too. Then they went to other small apartments to steal food. A few hours later, they finally returned to their own apartment. Evelyn quickly ordered, "Lock the door." They quickly pulled out the food and started eating to satisfy their hunger. Looking closely, both of them had many wounds. The raid clearly hadn't gone smoothly. There was one difference from my previous life. At this moment, when they had nothing left to eat, they had ruthlessly killed me. Remembering that feeling, a sharp pain shot through my head. Suddenly, my phone was flooded with messages. I've been robbed. Peanuts, noodles, rice, everything's gone. These bastards. I was just watching a movie when those two broke in and attacked me. So heartless. I was in the bathroom when they suddenly barged in and tied me up. I didn't even have time to get dressed. After that, more shouts and curses kept coming in. All of them were victims of those two robbers. Luckily, Evelyn and Jason had hidden their faces while stealing. With so many people taking revenge, it was unclear if they would have survived. But this was a lesson for everyone in the apocalypse. Nothing is scarier than human nature. When supplies run out, people will do anything to survive. Kindness, honesty, and mercy mean nothing at a time like this. The snow had been falling for days, almost half a meter deep, and the temperature outside had dropped to -15 degrees Celsius. Even though Mom had cooked a lot of delicious food, Dad and I were still bored, with nothing to do. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, breaking the peaceful atmosphere. "Hello. I'm the village chief," a voice called out. Although a bit suspicious, my dad went to open the door. It was indeed Mr. Silent, the village chief. As he stepped inside, he said, "Your home is so warm, and there's so much food." He looked at me and smiled. "Is this Kaiser? You were just a little kid back then. And now you've grown up and have a family." My dad asked, "What brings the village chief here?" He sighed and said, "I'm here to collect food." Dad and I froze, not understanding. He looked at us and explained, "The snow is very heavy. No one can grow crops, and most of the food is gone. That's why I've been collecting everyone's food and storing it in the village warehouse. Later, it will be shared, so everyone has enough to survive this disaster." My dad quickly spoke up. "I understand everyone's situation. But this food is the result of my family's hard work. Besides, this small amount is barely enough to feed us." Mr. Silent gave a small smile. "As humans, we should be more generous. Right now, we need to stay united to get through this. Your family has a lot of food. Before the snowstorm, everyone saw how much you stocked up. Our village only had a few hundred households, and the houses were far apart. But even so, the supplies my family bought had clearly caught people's attention." My dad raised his voice. "Every household in this village has food. 3 days before the snow, I saw people finishing their harvest. There's no way they used up all of it in just a few days." I thought my dad was completely right. The village chief looked uneasy. After hesitating, he finally told the truth. Our village had finished the harvest, but ended up selling it all. A few days ago, some people came from the city. They were buying food at 10 times the price. Everyone rushed to sell whatever they had. I didn't know what to say. There were no words to describe how foolish that decision was. Then my dad said to the village chief, "To be honest, our family sold all our crops too. We don't have any food stored. We also thought the snow would stop soon. We didn't expect a real disaster to hit." Seeing that, I pretended to be sad and nodded along with my dad. Mr. Silent looked at my dad and me thoughtfully. He had been the village chief for a long time, and no trick could escape his sharp eyes. I was sure he wouldn't believe our story. But that didn't matter. All our family's supplies were safely in a secret basement. No one could find them. A few days ago, when I saw my ex-wife trying to steal food, my dad and I got ready. We moved all our supplies to the secret basement to keep them safe. Since my grandfather's time, the government sometimes seized people's belongings. So our family secretly dug a deep basement to store our valuables. Even though life is better now, and those times are over, my dad quietly kept expanding it. In the basement, the space was spacious, but the entrance was small. Who would have guessed that the door was hidden under the sofa in the living room? Seeing his doubt, I took him to the storage room to prove it. When we got to the storage, I looked at him and said, "See? We only have this little food. It won't last long." The village chief was still clearly doubtful. He thought, "People saw them buy a lot of food. There's no way they only have this much. Are they hiding something?" But he sighed and said, "All right. Since your family doesn't have much food left, you don't need to contribute anything. But the village won't give you any supplies either. You'll have to manage on your own." My dad nodded. After that, the chief quickly got in his car and left. As soon as he was gone, my dad said, "He's definitely suspecting something. From now on, keep every door locked. No matter who knocks, don't open it." A few days later, the temperature outside dropped sharply to -30 degrees. Even with the heater on, I could still feel the cold deep in my bones. Now, I had to wrap myself in an electric blanket, wear thick sweaters and thermal clothes, and drink hot ginger tea just to feel warmer. Snow completely covered the roof, but luckily, it was well reinforced, so we weren't afraid it would collapse. Whenever the snow piled up too much, we had to go outside to clear it. But then, we received another blow. The electricity was out, and the internet was completely down. Now, I couldn't browse the internet or play games to relieve the boredom. The scariest thing was the solar panels. They were almost useless under the thick snow. The sky was gray, with no sunlight at all. Luckily, we had prepared 10 generators and 20 large power banks, so the important devices still worked. The best part was, the coal heater still worked, even without electricity. At first, I tried sleeping in my parents' room to stay warm and save fuel. But I had to give up, because the floor was too cold, and my dad's loud snoring kept me awake. During these freezing days, my family wasn't cheerful, and just wanted to stay in place. Suddenly, I saw my dad come in, holding something old and dusty. It was an old radio. He worked on it for hours, and finally, it picked up a signal. "People, please don't worry or panic. Try to save your food. Stay inside as much as possible. The power is being repaired, and relief supplies will arrive soon." Hearing the radio, our family felt a little better, and our spirits lifted. This radio became a link to the outside world, easing some of our worries. The mood at home lifted, and we gathered together, even though the blizzard outside was still raging. Today, my mom made me super spicy beef jerky. I ate it while reading comics. Even though it was so spicy that my eyes watered, it was delicious, and I couldn't stop. After that, I took out a freshly baked matcha bun. One bite, and it melted in my mouth, soft, sweet, and fragrant. It was a small sweet moment in the middle of the blizzard. Getting bored of reading, I picked up my binoculars to look outside. The snow was still covering everything in white, bringing a quiet, chilling feeling to my heart. My dad sat listening to the radio and talking with my mom. Pudding was still running around the house, as usual. But one night, our peaceful life got some uninvited guests. Around 2 a.m., my family was fast asleep. Two figures sneaked up to the house. Their whispers broke the silence. Big brother. Are you okay? Sorry, I fell on you. Keep your voice down. You'll wake the whole house. Hurry, we need to find the supplies. Big brother. Why do we have to help that old man? The leader whispered, full of schemes. He's the village chief. Everyone respects him. This is our chance to gain favor and get benefits later. Stop talking. Find a way inside quickly. It's almost dawn. One of them grumbled. All the doors are locked. They're thick and strong. We can't break them. The leader said urgently. This is the last window. If it doesn't work, we have to go back. Then suddenly, Big brother. We got it open. Come inside quickly, or we'll freeze. They poked their heads in and looked around. This house. It's so warm. They whispered to each other. Quick, find the hidden supplies before we get caught. You check this side. I'll check the other. Let's meet back at the bathroom. The underling muttered as he moved, his flashlight sweeping across every dark corner. He found the storage room, but inside there were only a few supplies, far fewer than he had expected. He searched around for a while, then checked the entire basement, but found nothing valuable. After all, this was just the regular basement everyone had, not the secret one. Frustration surged, and he cursed, convinced the village chief had tricked him. He gritted his teeth. Whatever, take what we can get. In his rush, he accidentally dropped a plate. The loud crash echoed through the night. I woke up with a start, my heart pounding. I jumped out of bed and dashed out of the bedroom. As I stepped into the living room, I saw a man rifling through our things. I shouted, "Freeze! Don't move!" The thief jumped and turned to look at me. Seeing I was alone, he sneered. Before he could say anything, Pudding leapt and bit his arm hard. He screamed in pain. Just then, my parents ran in. Seeing the scene, my dad immediately got angry. He charged. And then a flurry of powerful strikes hit the thief, sending him tumbling to the floor. I froze. Dad knows martial arts? He's that strong? My mom laughed. Don't be fooled by his appearance. He used to be a soldier. My dad waved his hand. It's nothing. Don't flatter me too much. But just as we were talking, the thief suddenly jumped up. He ran straight for the bathroom, so fast we couldn't react. From the shadows, he shouted, "Damn old man. Just wait. I'll be back. Stronger than before." Where's the underling? Run. Then he disappeared. His partner panicked, dropped everything he had taken, and ran after him. We didn't know if any thieves were still hiding in the house, so the whole family stayed on high alert. After a while, when it was quiet, my dad and I took flashlights and checked every corner of the house. Finally, we discovered they had entered through the bathroom vent. It wasn't well reinforced, so they got in. I locked the window, and my dad reinforced the vent with boards. When we returned to the living room, my mom was tending to Pudding. I asked, "Mom, is he hurt?" She said, "He's okay. Just a few small scratches." I let out a breath of relief. Pudding didn't look hurt at all. He even looked proud, his tail wagging like he'd just won a fight. I laughed and patted his head, giving him a piece of dried beef as a reward. My mom chuckled and said, "Pudding was so brave. He even bit the thieves. Tomorrow, I'll make him a good meal." That night, none of us slept. We stayed together, in the living room, just in case the thieves came back. You're listening to a story on Silent and Tales. Enjoy and relax. Early in the morning, my mom cooked a special pot of bone soup for Pudding. Meanwhile, my dad and I walked around the house, checking everything. I frowned, deep in thought. Where did they even come from? Did they show up by accident? Or were they aiming for our house? Feeling anxious, I said to my dad, "Dad, I think the village chief has something to do with this." My dad turned to me, his expression tightening. "Why do you think that?" I answered firmly. "The thieves broke in, but didn't steal anything. It felt like they were searching for something. And it happened right after the village chief visited us. I don't think that's a coincidence." My dad fell silent, his face lost in thought. I continued, "Don't worry, Dad. They won't find our secret storage. But we still need to be careful." Dad thought for a moment, then suddenly jumped up, like he remembered something. Without a word, he ran straight to the storage room. I hurried after him. A little later, he came out, holding over 30 mousetraps. He laughed and said, "Back in the day, I set these traps to protect the garden. But sometimes the villagers stepped on them, so I had to put them away. Who knew they'd be useful again during the apocalypse?" My dad looked around the house and started placing the traps in every corner. I asked nervously, "Dad, will this really work?" He said calmly, "As long as the snow isn't too deep, anyone trying to break in will get their foot caught. They won't dare come back." After finishing everything, we went back inside and ate the soup my mom had made. In the following days, the power and internet were still out, but we could still listen to the news on the radio. During that time, a few people tried to break into our house, but every single one stepped on the traps my dad had set. After that, no one dared to come near us again. One day, while we were eating, the ceiling light suddenly flickered, then shone brightly. We froze for a moment, then shouted with excitement. The power was back. Dad shouted urgently, "Hurry! Bring out all the devices we can charge." No one hesitated. We quickly brought out all battery-powered devices, power banks, and plugged them in. A few hours later, they were all fully charged. Looking at all the devices in the room, I thought to myself, good thing we prepared from the start. If the power goes out again, we'll be fine for weeks. Once the phone was fully charged, I turned it on immediately. The familiar startup chime rang out, and the screen lit up. Even the mobile network was back. Good. Now the important part, the surveillance camera. I hoped the camera at my ex-wife's house had recorded something. It had a backup battery, so it should still work, even after the power went out. I wanted to know what they had been up to. I opened the video list. And just as I hoped, everything had been recorded. It didn't disappoint me. While I wasn't watching, quite a lot of fun had already happened. In the video, those two jerks were fighting like cats and dogs. They had run out of the food they stole, so they started blaming each other and went at it, punching and wrestling wildly. But I knew Evelyn would win. She was strong. I used to get beaten by her before. Just as I thought, Jason ended up with a bruised face. He panted and shouted, "Damn it. How can you treat me like this? All you ever do is eat. Everything I stole was for you." He got even angrier and yelled, "From now on, don't expect me to bring you anything. We're done. I know everything. You've been seeing that old man in apartment 404, haven't you? You're so evil and shameless." Hearing that, Evelyn flew into a rage and attacked him again, punching and kicking nonstop. They went at it so hard, I was exhausted just watching the footage. Not long after, she angrily left. Because of the ongoing snowstorm, the power kept flickering. The next morning, I lost connection to the old apartment again. A few weeks later, the power suddenly came back. I quickly checked the surveillance camera. Jason was lying on the bed, buried under a pile of old clothes. It looked just like a fabric tomb. I watched for a while, but he didn't move. I even thought he might be dead. Just as I was about to turn off the camera, he suddenly reached out, turned on the heater, and quickly plugged in his phone. I froze. He's still alive. I wondered, what has he been eating to survive? At that moment, Jason put something in his mouth. I squinted to see clearly, and went completely silent. It was my old leather shoes, from the storage. Even worse, he was tearing apart the blanket stuffing, and chewing it like food. I didn't know whether to call it despair or madness. His pathetic state now was no different from mine in my previous life. Painful memories surged through my mind. I held my phone tightly. Now that I understood their situation, a plan for revenge appeared in my mind. Jason was already close to losing it. I just needed to push him a little. I video called Jason right away. He refused. I tried again. He hung up. But I didn't give up. Finally, the call connected. He shouted angrily, "What the hell are you doing?" He froze when he saw me. Still healthy, my face rosy. I looked at him and smirked. "Why do you look so wasted? Like a starving ghost." Jason gritted his teeth, his voice weak. "If you're just calling to mock me, I'll hang up." "Wait." I cut him off. "You won't survive if you keep going like this." I looked straight into the camera and spoke slowly, each word hitting him hard. "Evelyn left you, didn't she? She betrayed me before, and now she's abandoned you too. That woman was greedy and faithless to the core." I went on, steady and clear. "You stayed with her all that time, and what did you get? She won 10 billion, and she didn't give you a single penny. You're starving to death, and she still doesn't care." Jason went silent. He was gasping for breath. "What do you want to say?" I answered calmly, every word sharp. "Why should you suffer in this miserable place while she's living comfortably out there? Are you really okay with that?" Jason suddenly exploded. His eyes turned red. He screamed into the screen, his voice raw. "Liar. You think I don't know what you're planning? You just want to use me to get back at Evelyn, don't you?" His breathing grew harsher. His thin, hollow face trembled, half from anger, half from hunger. He hissed, "Don't even think about it. I'll never do what you want." Bang! Buzz, buzz, buzz. The screen went black. The call ended. Through the camera, I saw him slam his phone onto the floor. I laughed coldly. "This time, I want to watch you two destroy each other." Jason jumped out of bed, raging and smashing everything nearby. I knew that, at this moment, he hated Evelyn as much as I did. A moment later, he collapsed onto the chair, his chest heaving with anger and hunger. He grabbed his phone, hands shaking, and started dialing, probably calling Evelyn. He called again and again, but no one picked up. Each beep rang out like fuel poured on the fire burning in his eyes. Finally, he jumped to his feet. In his hand gleamed a sharp weapon. His teeth were clenched, his body shaking with rage. Without a word, he shoved the door open and stepped outside. The storm of revenge had begun. Not long after, through the camera, I saw Jason dragging Evelyn back home. He pulled her hard, and the moment they walked in, he tossed her to the floor. He lunged at her, hitting her fiercely. Although she was stronger, she was completely overwhelmed by his rage. I raised an eyebrow. She looked healthy, her face rosy, her skin smooth. Clearly, she had been living comfortably these past few days. Jason shouted, "Ungrateful, treacherous woman. I risked my life to get food for you, and you ran off with someone else. Do you know I was starving these past days?" Evelyn had never been insulted like that before. Her face flushed with shame and fury. She shot back immediately, her voice sharp and full of venom. "Useless man. I was stupid to love someone like you. Know your place, or I'll throw you out right now." Jason was furious. He rushed at her again, but after days without food, he was too weak. Evelyn quickly fought back. A powerful kick sent him crashing to the ground. He lay there, gasping, barely able to move. Then, in his desperation, his hand touched something on the floor. A hatchet. It was the same one they had used to hurt me in my past life. He grabbed it. His eyes flashed with pure madness. In the next moment, he swung it at Evelyn. She collapsed on the spot. But Jason wasn't done. Like a starving animal that had completely lost control. When she finally stopped moving, Jason's expression shifted. A strange, twisted satisfaction spread across his face. And then, without hesitation, he leaned down and kissed her, for the last time. Not what you expected, right? Keeping it safe. The scene was dark and terrifying. Seeing Evelyn end this way, I felt a little sad. She had caused me so much pain, but we had once been husband and wife. I sighed quietly. Finally. It's over. All the pain and hatred from my past life were gone. I told my parents everything. They were silent for a long moment. Then my father smiled and brought out a bottle of good wine. We raised our glasses, celebrating. This was not just the day my revenge succeeded. It was the start of a new life. A life of freedom, peace, and hope. I turned my attention back to facing the snowstorm and upcoming challenges. More than a year had passed since the icy apocalypse. Snow still fell heavily, with no sign of stopping. Countless people had died from hunger and the freezing cold. Things slowly started to improve when the government began distributing emergency supplies. Temporary shelters were built, power grids repaired. Even though no one knew when the disaster would end, people began to hope for a better future. Another year went by, and the cold grew worse, sometimes dropping to -60 degrees. Then, one day, the cold winds finally stopped howling, the snow ceased falling, and the air grew milder. At first, people thought it was just a temporary calm. But when the dark clouds cleared and the sun appeared, warm rays returned to the world. It was then that everyone realized the apocalypse was over. Many people broke down in tears mixed with joy. After catching their breath, they stood up, ready to rebuild their homes and their lives. The icy apocalypse had taken many lives, but luckily, some people survived, my family among them. My father and I stood up too, joining the others and helping the remaining survivors. Slowly, things began to get back on track, and life returned to normal. I went back to my old building. It was completely empty, filled with sorrow. I entered Evelyn's apartment and saw it was a mess. In the kitchen, only a skeleton remained. As for Jason, he had left the house soon after and never returned. No one knew if he was alive. I silently thanked fate for giving me a second chance to live peacefully and happily with my family. A new world began.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.